Geoff Schwartz joins us on the River Islands guest line. Sirius XM, Fox Sports. He's a former offensive lineman in the NFL, and he's a Bay Area sports fan, at least to a certain degree. Well, we can make fun of the Giants at the end of the conversation, but how are you, Geoff? It's good to have you on.
I'm good. Yeah, we can maybe do that at the end. When you give the Guardians their first series win in 3 months, you know you're playing good baseball.
If you're playing the Giants, you're going to get a series win. That's how it works. But, Geoff, I want to remind our audience something you said on First Things First yesterday. Let me play that, and then we'll follow up here.
Problem besides the injuries is that they have drafted very poorly for 4 years now. They have not drafted well. When you look at their roster and their depth, you can look at the first-round picks. Obviously, we couldn't put all the last 4 years on here, but Trey Lance, obviously, they traded all those picks. They missed out on first-round picks for years. Pearsall, obviously, unfortunately, had some off-the-field, right? Got hurt again. Williams got hurt last season. But the rest of the roster, none of these guys are any impact players. You go down 2023, 2024, 2025. They don't have any impact players that are young. They're all super top-heavy. So if these guys start getting hurt, which they're getting hurt as they get older, there's no one to backfill. There's just no one there. And we don't talk enough about the Niners draft picks, man. Like, who are the dudes? Who are the dudes right now that you got? Trent, obviously, got McCaffrey, you got Warner. Yeah, you got Purdy. Who else?
Kittle, Bosa,
sure,
Evans.
they're all old.
So, Geoff, like, you're certainly on to something here to a point. Here'd be the first thing I'd want to ask you. When you ask, like, for instance, you spotlighted the last 4 drafts, and no one's going to argue with you for 2023 and, quite frankly, most of 2022, although if you get a quarterback and nothing else, I think teams would take that. But isn't it a little early to point out 24 and 25 as far as not having impact players? And would the likes of Dominic Pooney and Upton Stout, et cetera, don't they qualify in your mind?
Are you ready to give Pooney a long-term contract after the season?
Well, no, I'd argue it's too early to know, but I like what I see.
Isn't that sort of the point, right? Like, the point is when you have these impact young players, you guys are talking about Stribling like he's the best wide receiver you've ever seen. He might be the best wide receiver ever. Immediately, like, impact guy, boom, let's go, right? These guys, they're good football players, sure, but who are you? Like, I can't wait to Niners pay this in a couple of years. That's my point, right? And you know, Pooney's a 4th-round pick, right? 3rd-round pick, I believe. 3rd-round pick.
3rd round, yes.
3rd-round pick as well. I think Stout's a 3rd or 4th-round pick as well. Obviously, Williams got hurt last season, which takes away some of the what he could have been. But I think he'd end up with 1 sack, right, in about half the season. But there were promising signs, obviously, that he could get there one day with some more reps and whatnot. He's young. Right? It's hard to judge that right now.
Yep.
But my point is that, by the way, the topic was, do you buy stock in the Niners moving forward? That was the topic. And the answer was no, because they're top-heavy, they're injured, and they don't have a lot of young players to backfill the elite talent. And that's what I said is not wrong. So, like, Niners fans, like, that's the thing when you do, obviously, media, right? Like, they did not mention the topic in the tweet. It just showed what I said. So,
welcome to social media, Geoff. Yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. That was the topic. The topic was, do you buy stock in the Niners? So if you include that first question in the tweet, it would make a lot more sense what I was saying. And so I just think they haven't drafted well. And maybe these guys immediately become good for them. Like impact all-star players. From these last couple of draft classes, yeah, is Pooney a good hit for a 3rd-round pick? Sure, but is he a top? I can look at my rankings, but, like, where is he for top guards in the NFL? Top right guards. I mean, is he average? Probably average, right? I mean, that's a good job for a 3rd-round pick. But it's just been a lot of dry drafts, man. And so when you start getting these guys at the top of your roster get older and get hurt, who you backfilling them with? And that happens to a lot of teams. It's not just a Niners problem, right? A lot of teams are in the same boat as they are.
Especially when you wind up drafting late in the 1st round or no 1st-round picks at all because of the Trey Lance thing in 2023. I wonder, Geoff, when you look at a draft and you decide, okay, now we can go ahead and judge them, is it 2 years in? Is it 3 years in? What's that mark for you when you can actually look at it?
Well, I think it's fair to say after year 3, right? Because after year 3, guys become extension eligible, right? And so those are times when you start thinking like, okay, are these guys going to get like even the 24 class, right? Obviously, Pearsall, it's not really his fault, but he's probably not getting a second deal with them now. Green, Pooney, Mustafa, that's probably the choices, I guess. I mean, Guerrero's not getting a second contract, right? So I just, again, it's sort of a judge it, right? Like, are you giving your guys second contracts? Now, of course, guys might leave, right? And then you get credit for that if they become superstars somewhere else. Like, people are talking about the Chiefs. I'm like, the Chiefs have an up and down draft. You still get credit for like Trent McDuffie, even though you guys didn't pay him, right? And you still get credit for developing an all-pro corner, even though he went to Los Angeles. So to me, it's after year 3. But I argue that you guys watch enough football, you sort of know immediately. And I'll go back to the scribbling discussion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Way he played last night, way he talked about at camp. Like you're like, that's a dude, immediately a dude, right? It's a guy immediately. So you sort of know, I think, a lot of times early on in a guy's career what type of caliber player they can be. But you have to pretty much wait until they're second contract eligible.
Geoff Schwartz is with us, SiriusXM, Fox Sports, former NFL offensive lineman on Willard and Dibbs 95.7 The Game. Yeah, Geoff, that kind of actually that leads perfectly into what I wanted to ask you. If it's year 3 or after year 3 that you can really judge a draft, what's too early to even have some sort of a conversation? When we look at the draft picks the Niners got this year, nobody's played a game yet, but they are very, very excited by what they're seeing from a lot of these players. Is that too early, or how early can you see talent?
Yeah. Okay, so there's a couple of things. One, you can tell early on, I think, if guys are like have it, but it's not the preseason, right? I mean, you got to wait for a few games. But I'll tell you this. The way they view the preseason is very simple. Is it look like it should, right? And you sort of get like a check mark, like a passing grade for me. And then there's obviously red flags. It doesn't look like it should. I'll give you a good example of both, right? So like Stribling, right? Like looks good so far. Top of the second round pick, looks talented, playing well, like that. Check the box, right? Like good job. Well, as you see what it looks like in week 1 and week 2 and moving forward.
Yep.
On the flip side, going back to Niners game 2 games ago against Tennessee, Cam Ward, they couldn't move the ball against your 2 defense. You're like, that's a problem. That's a red flag. And so, that's how I view the preseason. And there's other teams in that boat too. The Panthers played tonight. They didn't look terribly good with their one offense in their second game. And so, like, I was like, oh, it's not good. They kind of look disorganized and a little dysfunctional. So I think that's the way I look at the preseason. So, yeah, the young players playing well is a good thing. Ty Simpson's the 13th pick in the draft. He should play well against Chiefs backups. Like, he's a first-round pick. Of course he should do that. So that's why I look at the preseason. It's always good that it's better than it is worse. But, it's not the regular season.
Right, at all. And I wonder about what you think about Kalon Black, who, my partner here is pretty excited for. And he called it last night like it's going to be a big Kalon Black game, and he sure looked good. Is it too early to think about him maybe as the backup to Christian McCaffrey?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, right? And that's a position you need depth, though, right? It's a position that we often see in a given year, we might go through 2 or 3 of those. And, McCaffrey does get a lot of carries, right? That's one thing Shanahan seems to give him a lot of work, so maybe not as much in San Francisco as other places, but you need 2 or 3 guys, right? Like, you need a lot of guys to run the football, especially in Shanahan's offense, right? He wants to run the football. He wants to attack other teams. He wants to be aggressive, and it's hard to do all those things if you don't have enough running backs to do it. So it wouldn't surprise me if he made the team. Well, he's going to make the team, obviously. It wouldn't surprise me if he was, in a position to, to contribute, especially if there's a little bit of injury this year. Yeah, it's a position that has a lot of injury.
Geoff, I wonder, as a former offensive lineman, what your assessment is of the way Kyle Shanahan, John Lynch, and the 49ers attack their offensive line. They seem to play a little bit of an analytics game. They believe in value more so than really investing first-round capital or anything like that on offensive linemen, particularly with the defensive lines they go up against in the division. What do you think about their philosophy?
That's not what I would do. but I'm not running an NFL franchise. I mean, you look at the best offensive lines in the NFL. A lot of them have really high draft picks that are performing well, right? I mean, look how good Trent Williams is for you guys. I know you didn't draft him, but like, look how important a player of that caliber is to your team. And you imagine you had like maybe two of those guys, like what that would be to your offensive line over the. I'm not saying you have to draft them, two in a year, but it's funny because remember when Harbaugh came into San Francisco? I think his first draft he drafted two guards like immediately. That was like his first two picks, and that was the backbone of those teams, right? It was the physicality up front, and there's value in those guys. There's a reason why. Again, like look at the best offensive lines in the NFL. They all tend to have a couple first-round picks, right? Like they've invested in that position, and I get it. Look, Shanahan is a master at designing the run game, right? I mean, he's really good at manipulating defenses with formations, and maybe he feels like he is sort of like he can make up for maybe O-line deficiencies because of the scheme, which I don't disagree with, by the way. I think that'd be a fair way to look at it. Man, like again, it's kind of a depth. Like I don't know, the offensive line's not really. Again, you're not replacing Trent Williams ever, so that's a bad comp, and I don't like saying that. But like, it's just sort of the same as a lot of other teams. It's just really not there. It's not. By the way, not only a problem. The Rams have this problem at offensive line too. Like, it's not just the 49ers.
Yeah, and I'm going back to the Harbaugh draft. He had the 11th pick. He took Anthony Davis. He had the 17th pick. He took Mike Iupati. And so if the Niners don't have that high of a pick, is it forcing it to try to go like with a late first round or a high second round pick to try and get an offensive lineman?
I mean, no. Why the Lions drafted Blake Miller at 21 this year? I mean, you could do it. Maybe sometimes you have to use some assets to move up and get the guy you want too, right? I mean, that's also an option as well. But they really have not drafted. What's the last first, second round draft pick of offensive line they had?
I think the last time they went first round, if I'm not mistaken, was McGlinchey.
Yep.
That's right when they first got the job.
You just see it's just sort of really hard to have a Super Bowl winning team without a good offensive line. And not to go back to that Super Bowl, Niners lost to the Chiefs, but that was a big factor, right?
Yep.
Like a miss, the depth kind of bit them in that game, and it's just hard to win at this level without those elite guys up front. Think about Super Bowl champions, man, and what are they? One of the stories of the Seahawks last year was that their offensive line got much better. But they've also invested first round pick, right, left tackle, third round pick. I think Abe Lucas at right tackle. Like they spent the time trying to invest in that offensive line, and it paid off for them last season.
Geoff Schwartz is with us here on Witherden Dibs 95.7 The Game, Sirius XM, Fox Sports, former offensive lineman, and also a Giants fan. Like, you were born in L.A., though, right, Geoff?
Yeah, but my dad's from Santa Rosa.
Okay, so that's where it came from. And how have you enjoyed the summer of Giants baseball?
So about 10 years into the season, my buddy I do the podcast with, Chris Felica, the Bear. Yep. He goes, "Hey man, maybe we should bet on Giants have the worst record in baseball. They're starting pretty poorly, new manager." And I was like, "I don't know, man." But I guess I'll just do it. We'll have fun. It's 65-1 worst record in baseball. And they're probably going to lose out on it, but they're still in the hunt for worst. So I'm now rooting for worst record in baseball. The A's are probably worse. I mean, the Giants have too many good players, to probably be the worst. It'd be shocking with Logan Webb every 5 days and Devers, some of the guys they have. And Devers, I think, is doing fine this year, and just the team just stinks. I mean, but we got that big old boy who you pitched yesterday, 2 days ago, and it's so funny. I watched one video on that 17-year-old we traded for. I don't even know his name. And now my Twitter timeline is just full of Giants prospect videos, jacking home runs in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
The kid, that 17-year-old, I was like, oh, sweet. He must be in rookie ball. And it's no, he's in Dominican rookie ball. He's not even in the States. He's in Dominican. I looked it up. He's in the Dominican rookie ball league. So, in 5 years from now, the core of our roster will be ready, man. Let's go.
That's it.
Or next year. I mean, they might just call him up, Geoff. Why not?
I mean, I'd be for that. I'm really interested in this, like, Dodgers owner maybe being corrupt. I think we should focus more on that. Focus more on him, like, defrauding people and committing insurance fraud, and make that a story. That'd be fun.
I'm in. Yes, the Dodgers are a fraud, and it's a crime ring. I'm in. Let's do it, Geoff.
I think we should do as much as we can to make sure the Dodgers lose as many games as possible come the postseason. Who cares about now? I want them to lose in the postseason.
Geoff, thank you for coming on, man. That was really fun.